Hi, my name is Catherine Sampson. I'm a graduate student at the University of Houston downtown. This particular video is an instructional video that I created for my instructional design class. It's a mini module called How to Write a Query. I have experience writing queries because I've had a novel published that's called Gypsy, along with articles and a short story. In order to successfully complete the objectives in this mini module, you will need a handout, which you can get from week 12 off of Blackboard Vista, and you will also need a computer and a notebook and pen to take some notes. If you are really interested in getting your book or manuscript published, I would highly recommend purchasing an updated writer's market. And this book, which is called Formatting and Submitting Your Manuscript by Chuck Sambucino. They're both excellent resources for publishing. The following presentation will include step-by-step instructions on how to write a query. In order to successfully complete the objectives in this mini module, it's recommended that you carefully read the handout that was provided in week 12, and then you also watch the video. While you are watching the video, I also recommend that you take notes on some of the steps. After you've watched the video and read the handouts carefully, you should type your query on a Word document. You might want to review the video again or the handouts again to make sure that your query follows all the guidelines. And after you finish writing your query and editing it and receiving feedback from others, then you should submit it to the week 12 folder on Blackboard Vista. So queries are very important. They're an important part of the publishing process. For this particular mini module, you will be expected to do some objectives. For example, you should be able to write a query by the end of this instructional video. And in order to accomplish this task, you will need a few tools, including a computer, printer, internet access, notebook, and pen. You will also need a handout, which will be provided for you. It's up at Blackboard Vista, and it's under the week 12 folder. I believe it's under step 4. The handout is very important because it will provide you with some model queries and some additional information. So after this mini module, you'll be able to write a query level at a competent level. Queries are very important. It's one big step that you must take if you want to get published. If you have a book or if you have a manuscript, one way that you can contact the publisher or agent is to write them a query letter. If a publisher does not like your query, then there's no way they're going to review your book or your summary or any sample chapters. That is why a query is very important. Once again, the tools you'll need to complete the objectives for this mini module are a computer, internet access, printer, a handout, which is called Sampson Step 4 handout, and it's located in the week 12 folder on Blackboard Vista. You'll also need a notebook and pen. I recommend taking notes while I go over the steps for the process of creating a query. So a query is a one-page letter that introduces you and your manuscript. It should include an opening line, a paragraph that includes a hook, a paragraph that includes a mini synopsis or summary. It should also have a paragraph about your education and professional experiences. And it should have a paragraph that includes some information about how your book could be marketable. Lastly, you should have a few closing lines as well. When you write a query, you first need to find out if the agent or publisher has specific guidelines for their query. Some agents and publishers do not accept queries electronically, therefore you'll be required to send them through the mail. So the following steps that I'm going to include for you will actually be for queries that you would mail a publisher. So if you plan on mailing your query, you must include the publisher's address on the top right side of your query. You should also provide your address at the very top of the page in the center to the left. Or to the left. When you mail your query, you should make sure it includes a self-addressed stamped envelope, also known as a SASE. If you write a query that you plan on emailing, you don't necessarily need to include the publisher's address or even your own, but you need to make sure that you have an email and phone number. The following steps will help you learn how to write a query that you could mail a publisher or agent. When you complete the usability test at the end of this mini module, you'll be asked to write a query that could be mailed and not emailed. So remember, when you set up the query, to have your address at the top, and below your address have the publisher's address. So here are the first three steps. Step 1, type your address at the top left side or center of the page. Step 2, type the agent or publisher's address below your address on the right side of the page. Step 3, address the publisher or agent by their name. For example, write to Mr. Mark Smith. Always make sure to get the publisher or agent's name written down correctly. Step 4, write a couple lines that clearly explain why you are contacting the publisher or agent. For example, you could write, I have an idea for a book proposal that I want to share with you. This book might be of interest to you because it is about organic farming. I noticed that many of the books that your company publishes have been about farming. Other things you really need to remember when you are creating a query: make sure that you use 12 font. You can use Times New Roman. You can also use Calibri. The content in each of your paragraphs should be single spaced, and add an extra blank line for each new paragraph. Step 5, write a short paragraph that will serve as a hook. This paragraph should include information that will grab the agent's or publisher's attention. You can write about a key feature or problem that is explained in your book. Here is an exceptional example of a well-written hook. On assignment for Outside Magazine to report on the growing commercialization of the mountain, Krakur, an accomplished climber, went to the Himalayas as a client of Rob Hall, the most respected high-altitude guide in the world, and barely made it back alive for the deadliest season in the history of Everest. That was from Into Thin Air. Step 6. Then you need to write another paragraph, and this paragraph includes a summary or a mini synopsis of your book or manuscript. This paragraph should include information about the people or main characters mentioned in your book, some of the main points, and the word count. Try to make this paragraph about 150 words. Step 7. Write a paragraph about yourself. If you've ever published an article or written a book, you want to include it in this paragraph. If you have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in English, you also want to mention that. Any information that might be of the interest, that might interest the publisher, should be listed here. Step 8, write an additional paragraph about your book, about how your book could be marketable. If you plan on helping out with the marketing process, mention it. Explain who your intended audience is. Step 9, write a few closing lines. Make sure to thank the publisher or agent. You should ask them if they would like for you to send a table of contents, summary, and sample chapters of your book or manuscript. For example, you could write, thank you for your time and consideration. Please let me know if I should send you a summary and a few sample chapters. Step 10, write your closing. It's a good idea to write best, regards, or sincerely before you type your name. Make sure to type your name and sign your name. Now that I've shown you the 10 steps to creating a query, I hope that you can successfully create your own query. And when you do create one for the usability test, please make sure to cover everything that's in the checklist, and also compare your query to the ones that are provided in this handout. Make sure that your query sounds professional and that it's also creative. I hope that all these tips and these instructions help you, and I wish you the best of luck in your publishing endeavors.